Captain Dae-jung stared at the message on his screen and felt his stomach tighten. The holographic text floated in the dim light of his quarters aboard the lunar command station, each word carrying the weight of potential disaster. The Galactic Council had issued a formal summons. Earth had 10 days to send a representative to Velthera Prime, or humanity would be expelled from the Council and isolated from most of known space. He read the charges again. Aggressive expansion, violation of settlement protocols, unauthorized military buildup. Every accusation was carefully worded to make Earth sound like a threat to galactic peace. Dae-jung knew the truth was more complicated, but truth didn't seem to matter much in council politics. The door to his quarters chimed. He cleared the message from view and called out for entry. Admiral Park Hae-jin walked in, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp and focused. "You've read it," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, ma'am. It's bad." Hae-jin moved to the window that overlooked Earth below. The blue and white planet turned slowly in the darkness, peaceful and unaware of the danger circling it. "It's worse than bad, Captain. The Harmony was destroyed 3 days ago. Our diplomatic shuttle is gone, and the Council refuses to delay the summons." Dae-jung stood up straighter. "Destroyed? I thought it was an accident. That's what they're calling it." "A reactor malfunction near the Proxima Gate." Hae-jin turned to face him. "But our intelligence suggests otherwise. Someone wanted to make sure Earth couldn't send a proper diplomatic mission. Who benefits from that? Take your pick. The Takari want our colony worlds for their trade routes. The Vrin think we're weak prey species. Half the Council sees us as upstarts who need to be put in our place." She paused. "And if we don't show up to answer these charges, they'll have the excuse they need to cut us off from everything." Dae-jung understood what that meant. 15 years ago, humanity had finally achieved faster-than-light travel and discovered they weren't alone in the universe. Joining the Galactic Council had opened doors to new worlds, new trade, new opportunities. Being expelled would trap humanity in their small corner of space, surrounded by potential enemies and cut off from the resources needed to grow. "What are our options?" he asked. Hae-jin smiled, but there was no humor in it. "That's why I'm here. We can't build a new diplomatic shuttle in 10 days. We can't beg for more time because the Council has already denied that request. So we're going to do something unexpected." She pulled up a holographic display between them. The image showed a ship sleek and powerful, bristling with weapons and armor. Dae-jung recognized it immediately. "The Indomitable," he whispered. "Your ship, Captain. Earth's newest and most advanced warship. We're sending her to Velthera Prime." Dae-jung felt his heart rate increase. "Admiral, with respect, that's insane. We're supposed to be answering charges of military aggression. Showing up in a warship will only prove their point." "No," Hae-jin said firmly. "Showing up in a warship will prove our strength. The Council respects power, Dae-jung. They always have. We've been playing by their rules, trying to be good little newcomers, and where has it gotten us? Trumped up charges and sabotaged shuttles." She stepped closer. "It's time they understood something important. Humanity doesn't beg for a seat at the table. What about the diplomatic attaché? We'll need someone who knows Council protocol." "Already arranged. Kim Ji-won from the Foreign Service will accompany you. She's young but sharp and she understands what's at stake." Hae-jin pulled up another file. "Your chief engineer, Choi Min-ho, is preparing the Indomitable now. You'll depart in 18 hours. Dae-jung looked at the ship rotating slowly in the holographic display. She was beautiful and deadly, a product of humanity's harsh lessons learned in isolation. For 10,000 years, humans had fought each other, building weapons and strategies in the darkness while the rest of the galaxy formed their comfortable council. When humanity finally reached the stars, they brought that hard-won knowledge with them. The Indomitable represented everything humanity had learned about survival. Her armor could withstand weapons that would vaporize most council ships. Her missiles carried AI guidance systems that could think and adapt. Her reactor produced more power than ships twice her size. And her crew, trained in tactics developed through centuries of warfare, knew how to use every advantage. "What are my orders, Admiral?" Dae-jung asked quietly. "Simple. Get to Velthera Prime, defend Earth's position before the Council, and above all, come home safely." She paused. "The Indomitable's true capabilities remain classified. Most of the galaxy thinks our technology is crude and primitive. Let them keep thinking that unless you have no other choice. And if they force the issue," Hae-jin's expression hardened, "then you show them exactly what humanity is capable of. But Dae-jung, understand this. If shooting starts, everything changes. We'll be at war with species that have been spacefaring for millennia, so you use every option before that happens. Yes, ma'am, she handed him a data chip. Encrypted intelligence. Everything we know about the conspiracy behind these charges. Study it on your way to Velthara. Knowledge is as much a weapon as missiles. After the Admiral left, Dae-jung sat alone with his thoughts. In 18 hours, he would take his ship deep into Council space, surrounded by potential enemies carrying the weight of humanity's future. The Council expected a small shuttle with frightened diplomats ready to apologize and accept whatever. Judgment came down. They were going to get something very different. He activated his command console and began reviewing crew assignments. 300 men and women would be making this journey with him. Each one of them had families back on Earth, dreams and hopes for the future. Their lives were now in his hands. Dae-jung thought about the message again. The charges were false, built on distortions and lies, but the threat was real. If the Council wanted to destroy humanity's place in the galaxy, this trial could be their opportunity, unless humanity showed them that some prey had teeth. He stood up and straightened his uniform. Time to address his crew and prepare for departure. The Indomitable would fly into the heart of Council space, and one way or another the galaxy would learn an important lesson about Earth. They should have expected a warship. The Indomitable cut through space like a blade through water. Ji-won stood on the observation deck, watching stars streak past in the strange colors of faster-than-light travel. She had been aboard for 3 days now, and the ship still amazed her. This was her first time on a military vessel, and everything about it felt different from the civilian transport she was used to. She pressed her hand against the transparent aluminum viewport and wondered if she was ready for this mission. At 28, she was young for a diplomatic attaché, especially one being sent to face the entire Galactic Council. Her training had covered protocol and negotiation, but nothing had prepared her for the possibility of failure, meaning war. Beautiful, isn't it? Captain Dae-jung's voice came from behind her. Ji-won turned and nodded. I've never seen FTL travel from a warship before. It's faster than civilian vessels. The Indomitable has advantages most ships don't. Dae-jung moved to stand beside her. Our reactor can push us harder and longer than anything the Council has seen from Earth. Captain, can I ask you something? Ji-won hesitated. Do you think we have a chance? At the Council, I mean. Dae-jung was quiet for a moment. I think we have exactly the chance we make for ourselves. The Council expects us to be weak. That's our advantage. Before Ji-won could respond, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Captain, to the bridge. We have contacts. Dae-jung was moving before the message finished. Ji-won followed, her diplomatic training forgotten in a surge of adrenaline. They reached the bridge in less than a minute. The view screen showed 6 ships in formation ahead of them, blocking their path. Vrin Patrol Fleet, the tactical officer reported. They're hailing us. Put them through, Dae-jung said calmly, settling into his command chair. The view screen shifted to show a Vrin commander. The insectoid alien's mandibles clicked together as it spoke, the ship's computer translating instantly. Human vessel, you have entered Council border space. Power down your engines and prepare for security inspection. Ji-won felt her breath catch. This was it. Their first test. Dae-jung's voice was level and professional. This is Captain Dae-jung of the Earth Defense Force vessel Indomitable. We are on diplomatic mission to Velthara Prime by official Council summons. We will not be powering down. The Vrin's compound eyes seemed to gleam. You do not have authority to refuse inspection. Power down or we will force compliance. On the tactical display, Ji-won could see the Vrin ships moving into attack positions. Weapon systems were coming online. Her hands gripped the railing beside her station, knuckles white. Chief Minho, Dae-jung said quietly. Active sensors. Full spectrum. Down in engineering, Minho's fingers flew over his console. Active sensors online, Captain. Painting all 6 targets. What happened next made Ji-won's jaw drop. The Indomitable's sensor arrays came to life with an intensity she hadn't known was possible. Every Vrin ship was suddenly bathed in scanning energy so powerful it had to be visible on their own displays. The human ship wasn't just looking at the patrol fleet. It was dissecting them. Tactical, Dae-jung continued in that same calm voice. Weapons tracking. All targets. Do not lock, just track. Tracking all targets, Captain. They know we're watching them. On the view screen, the Vrin commander's mandibles had stopped clicking. The alien was staring at something off-screen. probably its own tactical display showing that the human ship had identified every weapon, every power conduit, every weak point on every vessel in the patrol fleet. "Commander," Daejung said, leaning forward slightly, "my sensors have analyzed your fleet. I know the charging time on your plasma cannons. I know your missile reload rate. I know which of your ships has a fluctuation in its shield generator." He paused. "If you fire on this vessel, my computers will track every weapon you launch. My point defense systems will destroy them, and my missiles will disable your ships before you can fire a second volley." The silence that followed was deafening. "I am not here to fight you," Daejung continued. "I am here on a diplomatic mission. But make no mistake, Commander, the Indomitable is not a shuttle. She is a warship of Earth, and she will defend herself. Now, are you going to let us pass, or are we going to test my tactical officer's calculations?" The Vryn commander's image flickered. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the patrol fleet began to move aside, opening a corridor through their formation. "You may proceed, human vessel," the Vryn said. The words sounded like they hurt. "But this report will reach the Council before you do." "I expect nothing less," Daejung replied. "Safe travels, Commander." The communication cut off. The Indomitable moved forward, passing through the Vryn formation without further incident. Only when they had cleared the patrol fleet by 1,000 kilometers did Daejung let out a slow breath. "Stand down from alert status. Resume normal operations." The bridge crew began to relax, but Jiwon couldn't shake the tension in her shoulders. She approached Daejung's chair. "Captain, what just happened?" "We established a precedent," he said, pulling up a star chart. "By the time we reach Velthara Prime, every species in the Council will know that Earth didn't send a helpless shuttle. They'll know we sent a warship, and that warship faced down a Vryn patrol fleet without firing a shot. Is that good or bad? That depends on what they do with the information." Daejung looked at her directly. "Jiwon, you need to understand something. The Council has spent 15 years seeing us as weak newcomers. They've built their strategy around that assumption. We just shattered it." Minho's voice came through the intercom. "Captain, you should see the quantum channel traffic. It's exploding. Every ship within 10 light years just heard about our little standoff." Daejung nodded slowly. "Let them talk. When we arrive at Velthara Prime, we won't be an unknown quantity anymore." Over the next week, as the Indomitable made its way deeper into Council space, Jiwon began to understand the ship and its crew better. She spent time in engineering with Minho, watching him optimize systems that seemed almost magical in their complexity. She ate meals with the crew, listening to their stories and fears. Most of all, she studied the intelligence Admiral Hai-Jin had provided. The conspiracy against Earth was bigger than she had imagined. The Takari Consortium wanted Earth's colony worlds for their trade empire. The Vryn military caste saw humanity as competition that needed to be eliminated before they became too strong, and dozens of smaller species had been bribed or threatened into supporting the charges. The trial at Velthara Prime wasn't about justice. It was about power. The Council wanted to break Earth's spirit, to force humanity into accepting a subordinate position in galactic affairs. But as Jiwon watched Captain Daejung command his ship with quiet confidence, as she saw the crew's dedication and the Indomitable's capabilities, she began to believe they might have a chance. Earth had spent 10,000 years alone, fighting and surviving without help. Humanity had learned hard lessons in that darkness. And now, sailing into the heart of Council space on a ship that represented all those lessons, Jiwon understood what Admiral Hai-Jin had meant. Humanity didn't beg for respect. They earned it. The stars continued to stream past, and with each passing hour they drew closer to Velthara Prime and whatever awaited them there. Velthara Prime filled the view screen like a jewel floating in the darkness. The binary star system cast strange double shadows across the massive Council station, a structure so large it had its own gravitational field. Hundreds of ships crowded the space lanes around it, representing dozens of species from across the galaxy. Jiwon had seen pictures, but the reality took her breath away. "It's incredible," she whispered. "It's a symbol," Daejung replied from his command chair. "The Council built this station to show their power and unity. Now we're going to dock at it in a warship." The communications officer looked up from her station. "Captain, Velthara Station Control is hailing us. They want to assign us a docking port." "Let's hear it." The voice that came through was artificial, translated from some alien language by computer. "Earth vessel Indomitable. You are cleared for docking at civilian port C-47 in the commercial district. Please adjust your approach vector accordingly. Dae-jung smiled slightly. Station Control, this is Captain Dae-jung. The Indomitable is a military vessel on official diplomatic business. We request assignment to the military docking ring. There was a pause. Earth vessel, the military ring is reserved for Council warships. Civilian port C-47 is appropriate for your vessel. Station Control, I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. The Indomitable is a warship of the Earth Defense Force. We will dock at the military ring, or we will maintain orbit and conduct our diplomatic mission from here. Your choice. The pause was longer this time. Ji-won could imagine the chaos on the other end of that communication. Earth was supposed to send a small apologetic delegation. Instead, they had sent a warship, and that warship was demanding to be treated as an equal to vessels from species that had been spacefaring for thousands of years. Stand by. Earth vessel, standing by, Dae-jung replied calmly. He looked at Ji-won. And now we wait. It took 20 minutes for Station Control to respond. When they did, the artificial voice carried what almost sounded like reluctance. Earth vessel Indomitable, you are cleared for military docking ring, port M12. Welcome to Velthara Prime. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They had won the first small battle. As the Indomitable maneuvered toward the military docking ring, Ji-won couldn't help but notice the other ships berthed there. Massive Takari cruisers with elegant curves and gleaming hulls, blocky Vryn destroyers covered in weapon mounts, strange organic-looking vessels from species she couldn't identify, and now settling into position among them Earth's warship. The docking process took an hour. By the time the airlock cycled and the connection was secure, a diplomatic reception party was waiting. Ji-won, Dae-jung, and a small security detail stepped onto the station into a different world. Velthara Station was beautiful. The corridors were wide and tall, accommodating species of vastly different sizes. Holographic displays showed news from across council space in dozens of languages. Aliens of every description moved through the crowds going about their business. And hanging over everything was the sense of history, of a civilization older than human recorded memory. The reception party was led by a Takari diplomat, whose name translated as Counselor Veth. He was tall and thin, with iridescent skin that shifted colors when he moved. His smile was welcoming, but Ji-won had read his file. Veth was one of the key players behind the charges against Earth. Captain Dae-jung, Attaché Ji-won. Welcome to Velthara Prime, Veth said smoothly. We were expecting a smaller delegation. Plans changed, Dae-jung replied simply. Indeed. Veth's eyes lingered on the human security detail, all of them clearly military personnel. Your arrival has caused quite a stir. The council will convene for preliminary hearings tomorrow morning. Until then, quarters have been prepared for your delegation in the diplomatic sector. We appreciate the hospitality, Ji-won said, stepping forward. I'm sure you understand that Captain Dae-jung and his crew will remain aboard the Indomitable. I will attend the diplomatic functions on Earth's behalf. Veth's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Of course, though I must say, arriving in a warship to answer charges of military aggression sends an interesting message. Dae-jung met the Takari's gaze steadily. We're not here to apologize, Counselor. We're here to answer false charges and defend Earth's rights as a council member. False charges? Veth's skin shifted to a darker shade. I assure you, Captain, the evidence is quite compelling. But I suppose we shall see tomorrow. The council chamber awaits. He gestured down the corridor. If you'll follow me, I'll escort Attaché Ji-won to her quarters. The next hours passed in a blur of meetings and preparations. Ji-won found herself shuttled from one briefing to another, meeting minor officials and adjunct counselors, all of them curious about Earth's bold arrival. Some seemed amused, others were clearly worried, and a few, like Veth, radiated a confidence that made her nervous. Late that evening, back aboard the Indomitable, Ji-won met with Dae-jung and Minho in the captain's ready room. She spread out her data pad, which was filled with notes from the day's conversations. It's bad, she said without preamble.
Veth and his allies have been preparing this for months.
They have testimony from colony governors, traffic records, communication intercepts. Every piece of evidence is technically true but presented in the worst possible light. What kind of evidence? Minho asked. Our colony on Kepler 442b? They're calling it an invasion of disputed territory. The fact that no one had visited that system in 200 years doesn't matter. The military fleet we're building? Aggressive expansion, not defense. Our refusal to share jump drive technology? Hoarding strategic resources. Ji-won ran her hand through her hair. They're going to present Earth as a threat that needs to be contained. Dae-jung was quiet for a moment, staring at the star chart on the wall. What's the verdict if we're found guilty? Surrender 3 colony worlds. Decommission 70% of our military fleet. Accept council oversight on all future expansion. She looked up at him. Captain, if we accept those terms, Earth will never be able to defend itself. We'll be completely at the council's mercy. And if we refuse, expulsion. Economic blockade. Possibly military action to enforce quarantine. Minho leaned back in his chair. So either we submit to becoming a puppet state, or we get cut off from the galaxy entirely. Those are our choices? Those are the choices they want us to think we have, Dae-jung said quietly. He stood up and walked to the viewport looking out at the council station. But there's a third option. We change the game. How? Ji-won asked. Dae-jung turned back to them and there was something hard in his eyes. We stop playing defense. Tomorrow in that council chamber, we're going to do something the council doesn't expect. We're going to go on the attack. Captain, we need to be careful, Ji-won warned. If we come across as aggressive, they already think we're aggressive. That's the whole point of this trial. Dae-jung pulled up a file on the main display. I've been studying council history. You know what I've learned? The council respects strength. Species that stand up for themselves get better treatment than those that apologize. We've been trying to be good neighbors for 15 years, and where has it gotten us? Trumped-up charges and a rigged trial. So what are you proposing? Minho asked. Tomorrow, when they present their evidence, we present ours. Every bribe Veth paid. Every Vryn threat. Every backroom deal made to push these charges through. He looked at Ji-won. You're going to walk into that chamber, and you're going to show the council that Earth doesn't bow to lies. Ji-won felt her pulse quicken. It was risky. If they accused council members of corruption without absolute proof, the backlash could be devastating. But if they did nothing, Earth would be crushed under false charges anyway. Do we have absolute proof? She asked. Dae-jung nodded. Admiral Hyojin sent encrypted files. Bank transfers, communication logs, testimony from witnesses. Everything we need. Then we use it, Ji-won said, surprising herself with the firmness in her voice. Tomorrow the council gets a message. Earth isn't going away. Outside the viewport, Velthara Prime continued its slow rotation, peaceful and ancient. But inside the Indomitable, 3 humans planned their counterattack, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity had teeth. The council chamber was exactly as intimidating as Ji-won had imagined. The circular room stretched 3 stories high, with seating for representatives from 47 different species arranged in ascending tiers. At the center stood a small platform where she now stood, feeling very small and very alone. Thousands of alien eyes watched her from above. High Chancellor Oryx presided from the highest seat. The ancient being looked almost human, but Ji-won knew that was deceptive. His species had been spacefaring when humans were still learning to make fire. His voice, when he spoke, carried the weight of millennia. This council is convened to hear charges against the species known as humanity. Represented by Earth, Counselor Veth, you may present your case. Veth stood gracefully and began his presentation. Holographic displays filled the air, showing Earth's colonies, fleet movements, military installations. Each image was accompanied by testimony, documents, expert analysis. It was professionally done and devastatingly effective. The evidence is clear, Veth concluded. Humanity has violated Council protocols on expansion, militarization, and resource sharing. They have shown contempt for established procedures and disregard for galactic stability. We recommend immediate sanctions and oversight to prevent further aggressive action. The chamber buzzed with conversation. Many counselors nodded in agreement. This was the moment. Ji-won took a deep breath and stepped forward. High Chancellor, if I may respond. Oryx gestured permission. Everything Counselor Veth showed you is true, Ji-won began. Several counselors looked surprised. Earth did establish colonies on those worlds. We did build a military fleet. We did refuse to share certain technologies, but context matters and Counselor Veth left out some important facts. She activated her own holographic display. The worlds we colonized had been uninhabited for centuries. We followed proper survey protocols and found no competing claims. The military fleet? We're building it because we're surrounded by species that have been spacefaring for thousands of years, and we were alone for all of human history. We learned to defend ourselves because no one else would. She paused. And the technology we refuse to share? We developed it ourselves. The Council has no right to demand it. You speak of rights, a Vryn counselor called out, but you are newcomers. You must earn your place. We have earned it, Jiwan shot back. By surviving alone for 10,000 years. By reaching the stars through our own effort. By contributing to Council trade and science since we joined. She looked around the chamber. But that's not what this trial is really about, is it? The buzzing in the chamber grew louder. Attaché Jiwan, you will explain that statement, Oryx said coldly. This was it. The moment of no return. Jiwan activated the files Admiral Haijin had sent. This trial is about removing a competitor. Counselor Veth, would you care to explain these financial transfers? 3 million credits to Counselor Mekrath, 2 million to Counselor Vosh, all paid in the months before these charges were filed. The chamber erupted. Veth's skin shifted through several colors before settling on an angry red. Those are lies, fabrications. They're bank records from your own consortium, Jiwan replied calmly. We have more. Communication logs showing Vryn military leaders planning to move a battle fleet toward Earth space. Documents proving this entire trial was designed to force Earth's submission. She looked directly at High Chancellor Oryx. This isn't justice, it's politics. Oryx raised a hand and silence fell instantly. These are serious accusations, Attaché. Do you have proof? We do. All of it is available for verification. Every transfer, every communication, every deal made in back rooms while Earth was told to play by the rules. Jiwan felt her confidence growing. The Council can verify our evidence or dismiss it. But either way, Earth will not accept a verdict based on corruption. The chamber descended into chaos. Counselors were shouting at each other. Displays flickering as different species pulled up the evidence Jiwan had provided. Veth was arguing furiously with several other counselors. The Vryn delegation looked ready to walk out. Oryx called for order repeatedly before the chamber finally settled. This council will recess to review the evidence. We will reconvene in 6 hours with a verdict. As Jiwan left the chamber, she felt hands shaking and adrenaline crashing. She had just accused some of the most powerful beings in the galaxy of corruption. There was no taking it back now. Back aboard the Indomitable, Daejung met her at the airlock. How bad? Either we just saved Earth or we started a war. Jiwan collapsed into a chair. They're reviewing the evidence now. The 6 hours that followed were the longest of Jiwan's life. She tried to rest, but her mind kept replaying the scene in the chamber. Finally, a message came through. The council was ready to deliver its verdict. When Jiwan returned to the chamber, the atmosphere had changed. The counselors looked angry and divided. Oryx's expression was unreadable. And Veth looked like he wanted to kill her. This council has reviewed the evidence, Oryx began. While some irregularities have been found in the procedures leading to this trial, the fundamental charges remain valid. Earth has expanded aggressively and militarized extensively. Therefore, we render the following verdict. Jiwan's heart sank. Earth will surrender control of 3 colony worlds to Council administration. Earth will decommission 70% of its military vessels. Earth will accept permanent Council observers to oversee future expansion. You have 72 hours to signal your acceptance of these terms. Oryx's ancient eyes fixed on her. Refusal will result in immediate expulsion and enforcement of quarantine protocols. The chamber erupted in applause from some sections and angry protests from others. Jiwan stood frozen, the words echoing in her mind. This was it. The ultimatum she had feared. She returned to the Indomitable in a daze. In the captain's ready room, Daejung and Minho were waiting. She delivered the verdict in a flat voice. They're trying to break us, Minho said quietly. If we accept, we lose everything that makes us independent. If we refuse, we're cut off from the galaxy. Daejung was staring at his tactical display, his expression troubled. Minho, you've been monitoring station power signatures. Have you noticed anything unusual? Minho pulled up his data. Actually, yes. There's a pattern in the quantum space distortions near the outer system. It could be natural, but he ran some calculations. Captain, I think there are ships hiding in the quantum dark regions. How many ships? At least 30. Maybe more. The signatures match Vryn battlecruisers. The room fell silent. Jiwan felt cold understanding wash over her. They were never going to let us refuse, were they? The trial, the ultimatum, all of it was just a setup. If Earth says no, the Vryn fleet attacks our colonies. Daejung nodded slowly. It's elegant. If we accept the verdict, they win politically. If we refuse, they win militarily. Either way, Earth loses, so what do we do? Jiwon asked. We change the rules again. Daejung activated his communication console.
Get me Admiral Hai-Jin.
Secure channel. The conversation that followed was brief and intense. When it ended, Daejung turned to face them both. Admiral Hai-Jin has authorized a response. 3 Earth warships just entered Council space through different vectors. They'll be here in 18 hours. 3 ships won't be enough against a Vryn fleet, Minho protested. They don't need to be enough to win. They just need to be enough to make the cost unacceptable. Daejung pulled up a star chart. The Council built their power on the assumption that warfare is too costly to consider. Species don't fight because the economic damage outweighs any possible gain. But Earth is different. We spent 10,000 years fighting each other. We understand acceptable losses. You're going to threaten war, Jiwon said. No, I'm going to promise it. Daejung looked at both of them. Tomorrow I'm requesting an emergency council session. We're going to present them with evidence of the Vryn fleet. We're going to expose this entire conspiracy, and we're going to make it clear that if one Vryn ship moves toward Earth space, we consider it an act of war. They might call that bluff, Minho warned. Daejung's expression was grim. Then we'll show them it's not a bluff. The emergency council session began in confusion. Councilors filed into the chamber, many of them clearly annoyed at being summoned with only hours of notice. High Chancellor Oryx looked particularly displeased as he took his seat. Captain Daejung, this is highly irregular. The verdict has been delivered. You have 72 hours to respond. What could possibly require an emergency session? Daejung stood at the center platform, his uniform crisp and his bearing military precise. Jiwon watched from the side, her heart pounding. This was it. Everything depended on the next few minutes. High Chancellor, this council is about to be attacked. Daejung activated a holographic display. 2 hours ago, my chief engineer detected unusual quantum signatures in the outer system. Further analysis revealed what you see now. A Vryn battle fleet consisting of at least 35 warships hiding in quantum dark space. The chamber exploded into noise. The Vryn delegation stood as one, their mandibles clicking in agitation. The lead Vryn, war leader Kryn, stepped forward. This is a ridiculous accusation. Those signatures could be anything. They could be, Daejung agreed calmly. Except we've been tracking them for 8 hours now, and they're moving on an intercept course for Earth colonial space. They'll reach the Kepler colonies in approximately 43 hours. He pulled up more data. We also intercepted encrypted communications between your fleet and the station. Would you like me to play them for the Council? Kryn's compound eyes fixed on Daejung with obvious hatred. You have no authority to spy on Council military communications. We weren't spying. Your communications were poorly encrypted. Daejung looked around the chamber. But that's not the important question. The important question is why there's a Vryn battle fleet hiding near Council space, positioned to attack Earth colonies exactly when Earth is being forced to choose between submission or expulsion. High Chancellor Oryx leaned forward. War Leader Kryn, explain this fleet's presence. It is a routine patrol. It's an invasion force, Daejung interrupted. Positioned to strike the moment Earth refuses your ultimatum. This entire trial has been a setup. If we accept the verdict, you win politically. If we refuse, your fleet attacks our defenseless colonies and you win militarily. Either way, Earth loses. The chamber was silent now. Every eye was on Kryn, whose aggressive posture had shifted to something more defensive. These accusations are baseless, Veth called out, his skin shifting colors nervously. Earth is trying to distract from their own violations. No. The single word from Oryx cut through the chamber like a blade. War Leader Kryn, I asked you a direct question. Explain your fleet's presence and position. Kryn stood silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his translator barely captured the rage in his voice. Humanity is weak. They are prey species pretending to be predators. Someone needed to put them in their place before they became a real threat. So you admit it, Jiwon said from her position. You admit this trial was designed to justify an attack. What if I do? Kryn turned to face the Council. Look at them. 15 years in Council space and already they're demanding equal treatment. They bring warships to diplomatic proceedings. They accuse counselors of corruption. They refuse to accept proper authority. His mandibles clicked together violently. If we don't stop them now, in 100 years they'll be challenging the council itself. That's your fear speaking, Daejung said quietly. You see Earth becoming strong and it terrifies you. So you conspired with the Takari and others to destroy us before we could threaten your position. I did what was necessary, Kryn shouted, and I will finish it. My fleet will move on Earth colonies regardless of this council's decision. Humanity will learn its place. The chamber erupted into chaos. Councilors were shouting, some supporting Kryn, others calling for his censure. Several species began leaving their seats, unwilling to be part of what was rapidly becoming a disaster. And through it all, Daejung stood calmly at the center, waiting. Oryx finally managed to restore order. War Leader Kryn, you are relieved of your command authority pending investigation. Your fleet will stand down immediately. No. Kryn's reply was flat and final. My fleet follows my orders, not the council's, and my orders are to attack. He turned to Daejung. Your colonies will burn, human, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. You're wrong about that, Daejung said. He activated his communication link. Indomitable to Vryn station berths. Target all Vryn vessels currently docked at Velthara Prime. Fire control solution ready. On the chamber displays, everyone could suddenly see what Daejung was showing them. The Indomitable's targeting systems had locked onto every Vryn ship at the station. Weapons were armed. Firing solutions were calculated. One command and the human warship would attack. You wouldn't dare. Kryn hissed. Try me, Daejung replied. But that's not all. 3 more Earth warships just entered this system. They're currently on intercept courses for your hidden fleet. If any Vryn vessel moves toward Earth space, all 4 human ships will consider it an act of war. And War Leader, we're very good at war. Jiwon watched the tactical display update as the 3 reinforcement ships appeared on sensors. The Perseus, the Valiant, and the Warrior, each one as capable as the Indomitable. The Vryn fleet might outnumber them, but suddenly the equation wasn't as simple as Kryn had assumed. You're outnumbered 10-1, Kryn said, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. We've faced worse odds. Daejung's expression was cold. Humanity spent 10,000 years fighting each other. We learned every lesson about warfare the hard way. Your fleet is impressive, War Leader. But can it survive losing 30% of its ships? 40%? Because that's what it will cost you to destroy 4 Earth warships. We will make you pay for every meter of space. This is madness, Veth called out. You would start a war over this? We didn't start anything, Jiwon replied, finding her voice. You did. When you fabricated charges. When you positioned a fleet to attack our homes. When you decided that Earth needed to be destroyed because we refused to be weak. She looked around the chamber. Earth came here for justice. You offered us submission or death. Now you're upset because we chose a third option. Fighting. High Chancellor Oryx had been silent watching the confrontation unfold. Now he spoke, and his voice carried the weight of genuine authority. Enough. All of this is enough. He stood and the chamber fell silent. War Leader Kryn, your fleet will withdraw from this system immediately. You are hereby stripped of your command and expelled from this council. You have no authority, Kryn began. I have every authority. Oryx's shout echoed through the chamber. I am High Chancellor of this council, and I will not allow it to become a tool for warmongering conspiracies. He turned to the rest of the assembly. This trial is concluded. The charges against Earth are dismissed. The verdict is void. High Chancellor, that's not possible, Veth protested weakly. The evidence was presented as part of a conspiracy to justify military aggression. The evidence is tainted. The process is tainted. All of it is void. Oryx looked at Daejung and Jiwon. Earth will retain all its colonies. Earth will maintain its military fleet. Earth will answer to no one but itself for its internal decisions. The chamber exploded into argument, but Oryx wasn't finished. Furthermore, this council will undergo immediate reform. No longer will we judge species by their willingness to submit. We will judge them by their contributions and their character. He fixed Kryn with a hard stare. Species that can defend themselves deserve respect, not destruction. Kryn stood frozen, clearly unable to process what was happening. His entire plan had collapsed. Finally, he turned and left the chamber, his delegation following. Within minutes, reports came in that the Vryn fleet was breaking formation and retreating. In the aftermath, as the council began the messy process of dealing with what had just happened. Daejung and Jiwon stood together on the observation deck of the Indomitable. The 4 Earth warships were visible in formation, a statement of capability and intent. "Do you think this changes anything?" Jiwon asked. "Long term, I mean." "Everything and nothing," Daejung replied. "The council will never look at Earth the same way again. We proved we won't be bullied, but we also proved we're willing to fight, and that scares some species. Was it worth it? Coming here in a warship threatening war?" Daejung was quiet for a moment. "Admiral Heejin told me that humanity doesn't beg for a seat at the table. Today we proved that. The galaxy wanted us to be weak and grateful. Instead we showed them what we really are. And what's that? Survivors, fighters. A species that spent 10,000 years alone and came out stronger for it." He looked at her. The council expected a shuttle full of diplomats ready to apologize. They got something very different. Jiwon smiled. They got Earth's most formidable warship. Exactly. In the days that followed, the political aftermath rippled through council space. Veth was investigated and removed from power. The Takari Consortium's influence collapsed. Several species that had been quietly supporting Earth spoke up more boldly. And humanity's position in the galaxy shifted fundamentally. Earth was no longer the weak newcomer to be tolerated or exploited. Earth was a power to be respected, feared, and treated as an equal. The 4 warships remained,